Hello everybody and welcome to Astrology. As everyone knows, we are in eclipse season, right in between waves, and I'm going to do a video on the Virgo Lunar Eclipse coming up on the 3rd of the 1st, 2026, next month. And I just firstly like to thank everyone for attending my live webinar. My live YouTube, sorry, and it was really great to have the support, and I appreciate all the new subscribers. And I got a lot of really good feedback about charts, so I was really happy about that. And I'd just like to say, for people who don't know, I do offer obviously astrology consultations. Some of them, the full ones, are planetary astrology combined with Chinese astrology, but I also combine Chinese astrological mini readings. So they're a little bit cheaper, but they're sent via audio file, right? So if you message me and you want one of those about Barzo 4 pillars, I can just send it to you in an audio file. I usually do that. And obviously the full comprehensive consultation will be over Zoom, or for people who are local here in Australia who know me, usually come and see me in my clinic. So with all that said, too, also I do offer courses in Barzo. I just recently did an event on the weekend and at an exhibition, and there was quite a bit of interest in Chinese astrology, which I was kind of surprised about because most people go for the tarot readings and all this kind of thing. And I did quite a few charts for people, and people were coming up and getting really interested in Chinese astrology, so which is great. And so I do offer an online course, and I have a book called The Beginner's Guide to Chinese Medicine on my website for those who are interested. And the online course, usually it's a stepping stone before I do private individual training, which I usually do because I kind of prefer that way. But the online course is a really good foundation. And yeah, it was cool. I really enjoyed doing the live. I aim to do more this year. And for those who've got interest in these kind of subjects, you can just comment below and I can talk about all kinds of subjects. So I like getting the feedback from people who want to understand more about either health, because obviously I'm a Chinese medical practitioner, and also parts of astrology that people would like to hear more about. And it's really cool the way I like doing lives, because I like them making interactive and personal towards someone's Barzo 4 pillars chart. Now, I'm just going to talk about the lunar eclipse in Virgo right now, and obviously I'm not going to go through the 12 rising signs. I'll do that in a different video, but I just wanted to generally talk about kind of themes that will be coming up. And obviously eclipses, for people who don't know, particularly the lunar ones, are quite close to the north and south nodes, for people who don't know. And nodes are points on the ecliptic. And with astrology, obviously the Virgo eclipse is in an earth sign, which is earth. It's a mutable sign. And so these kind of eclipses don't operate as consistently as, say, eclipses in fixed signs, which we've just experienced the solar eclipse in Aquarius, right? Aquarius is fixed air, Virgo mutable earth. But generally eclipses in Virgo are more subtle. So Virgo kind of rules on a mundane level, right? I'll just generally talk about mundane themes that can come up, right? And then I'll talk a little bit more about the astrological deacons, which are very, very positive for this eclipse. So this might sound a bit, some parts of when I read out the old mundane text on eclipses, some people are giving me feedback going, oh, you're so negative. But this is how some of the older the guys back in the past, eclipses weren't positive things. So they always kind of reveal things that are hidden. So, but this one is really interesting. But so let me just talk about Virgo. Generally rules like public health, employment, property maintenance, development, home improvement, rules data, record keeping, nursing, kind of social services, farming, health workers, hygiene, mills, grains. It's got a lot to do with food production, drought, unemployment. On the earth level, there can be kind of landslides, mining, botany, it rules, maids and servants, right? Caregivers, nutrition, herbal medicine, naturopathy, right? Just to name a few. And of course, it's one of the signs connected to pets and animals. But, one kind of thing we need to pay attention to with eclipses, and being kind of, I'm right into medical astrology, and so when the eclipse hits, we've got to think about the reflex zone. So when an eclipse in Virgo is going to kind of swing and hit the opposite sign, which is Pisces. So there's going to be Piscean themes come up as well during this eclipse, and that will be to do with oceans, hospitals, homelessness, ashrams, old age homes, kind of bars, international borders, mental health and sleep, right? And solitude, confinement, spiritual work, inner work. So kind of expect those themes to come up for, in the mainstream media or within yourself, like, sleep. Sleep can be really disturbed for some people, depending on how things fall. But the ancient astrologers never looked on eclipses favorably, like I was touching on before. So mundane astrologers would say that eclipses in mutable signs may produce complicated and involved effects which are not always easy to trace, right? So they do not often result in some great strike or, some really hardcore event, as in, eclipses more in fixed signs, things like this. But they can still produce trouble, right? Like to do with strikes, crime, sickness, trouble in connection with religion, education. They are followed usually by accidents, traveling both on sea and shore, right? Especially in the earth signs. Eclipses in earth signs are said to injure crops and the products of fruits and in the earth. And the business world can be a little bit disturbed and depressed, as well as trade and agriculture suffer, and troublesome financial problems can arise, right? But there's a flip side to this eclipse, right? So just pay attention, and I'll get into that a little more. And of course, there can be unfortunate for government and statesmen, for the monarch, and of course, droughts may follow. So I'm down here in Australia, and we've hardly had any rain. And previously, we had a few eclipses in Virgo, but it's been extremely dry. I mean, I had a good bout of rain yesterday when I came back from the exhibition, but it's been, wow, it's dry. So eclipses, we're in between waves now, right? So the Earth magnetic field's really unstable. With eclipses in Virgo, generally it's a good time to check your property, right, for Earth stability. And insects and things like this, right, like termites and stuff like this, you want to just check the house, the foundation, what's going on. So make sure your food supplies are intact, as well as your health and livestock for those who work on the land and the farmers. It's a good time to back up your data as well, as Virgo kind of rules this. And there's been funny things going on with the previous solar eclipse when in Aquarius, because I've noticed it's almost felt like a retrograde period in a way when Mercury is going to be retrograde at the end of this month at the same time as this lunar eclipse, but there's been interruptions in the electromagnetic fields and destabilization of the internet and stuff like that. I've noticed it a lot more. So work can either increase or decrease at this time. So if you run your own business and expect changes with employees, but this eclipse, like I said before, is extremely dry, and we're really feeling it. We're about to go, I think, on water restrictions down here in Australia. So generally, right, because I'm right into health and medical astrology, because obviously being a practitioner of Chinese medicine, that being acupuncture and herbs, I always look at the health side of things. And it's always good to examine your birth natal chart, transits, progressions, lunar phases you're going through in terms of how your health will play out. But and where the eclipse falls, obviously, right? Because it's extremely important, especially if you've got 12 degrees on your ascendant, descendant, midheaven, or if a luminary is at 12 degrees, sun and moon, and all the personal planets like Mercury, Venus, and Mars. It's extremely important to pay attention to. So, eclipses, Virgo rules the spleen and pancreas in health astrology, but I'd say at this time, right, you need, especially diabetics, need to be very cautious Really understand your dietary needs at this time is actually critical. Learn more about healthy eating choices. So Virgo being the analytical side, then analyze your eating habits on a daily basis, right? Because it does have a strong connection to the sixth house. And that's our daily routines, daily eating habits. So it can be a really good time to fast from rich foods. And I have actually been doing this, and it's made such a difference to I do a lot of Muay Thai training, and it's just my energy levels, my body just feels, fantastic at the moment, which is really, really good. But I think, when we do the fasting thing, one of the really cool things to do is that the Virgo archetype, and Virgo is connected to the cell salt Kali Sulf. So Kali Sulf is the oxygenator, the membrane normalizer and condition, and it's an amazing cell salt on many levels. And for those who don't know this, I've covered cell salt astrology in the videos, all 12 signs, so check that out. But this cell salt can really help with fasting if you choose to do it, and you combine it with ferrum phos because it can keep the body extremely well oxygenated. These are the key two salts you need to oxygenate the body. Therefore, they're one of the key two sea salts, if I can say this on YouTube, for the big C, which is Cancer. So as a Chinese medicine practitioner, then obviously the spleen is extremely important because it rules postnatal qi. It energizes the body. It produces blood. And this is a time to have, if you've been spleen qi deficient, which can give you sugar and sweet cravings, right? It's good to get this organ tonified or strengthened at this time. And diabetics and people like this, or have unstable hypoglycemia and things like this, may notice that their energy levels around the spleen will be compromised. So at this time, it's a good time to have acupuncture and herbal medicine. This is one of the things, right? This is how we look at it. And it does really work, this kind of stuff. So, the body can get really hit, right? We're the microcosm, the macrocosm, that kind of thinking. But with lunar eclipses, right, there's a lot of things on emotional themes. There's a strong emphasis on emotional themes. They really affect our inner life and our psyche kind of quite strongly, right? There's periods, so the period at this time is very suitable for taking care of your emotions, completing unfinished projects if you've had them, or leaving unnecessary things behind. And eclipses will always reveal to us something that has been deeply repressed or suppressed, and it's getting eclipsed. It's going to come out. We're going to feel things within us. So if we've been bottling things up on this emotional level, particularly a lunar eclipse, then it's going to be kind of quite profound when it comes out. So ancient astrologers believed that this lunar eclipses were malefic, as they can always arouse irrational responses. So, the moon represents the family, the mother, the home, emotional issues. Lunar eclipses can trigger changes in these areas compared to, say, solar ones as an example, but they can also bring out a lot of insecurity within our own private lives as well. So I just think avoid making important decisions at this time, and just keep your psyches as hygienic as possible and sanitized, and just try and stay balanced the best ways you can, especially if you feel really rattled. And one of the best ways to do that is through body treatments, acupuncture, even essences, whatever people resonate with, to really stabilize themselves at this time. But this is really cool, and I think when you look at the decans in the eclipses, which I always pay attention to because, I love the tarot, so I got to throw it in because I think, I've said it on other eclipses, the astrology is the masculine, tarot is the feminine, and merging these two together is really, really critical, and it gives us deeper flavors to what's really going on in in the cosmos, right? But the lunar eclipse here falls into the second decan of Virgo, connected to the frequency of Venus, right? It's connected to the Nine of Coins, and the Nine of Coins is Venus in Virgo as a placement, so to speak. So this card's connected to material gain. So the Nine of Coins has been known to be fortunate in financial matters, so the harvest can be good at this time, right? People have experienced a lot of instability in the economy, and it is important to be positive at this time because there's been lots of ups and downs. People have been struggling a little bit. But I think with this eclipse, Venus tends to enhance comfort, luxury, our personal values, as well as highlighting periods of economic prosperity. So this will lead, I think, this card and this decan to increase confidence in people, in the collective, for people to enjoy the pleasures of life and through their own personal achievements. So kind of this card in summary kind of summarizes in a way independence, intuition, creative thinking, and instinctive personal charm with a Venetian connection. But under this eclipse, creativity, imagination, and intuitive insights will be merged with practical ability, because it's a very practical card. So I think it'll give us the will to make a dream come true in practical reality. And I think when people have been really, really dialed in and focused on, let's say they're leveling up on that material level, then there's opportunities at this time. We may see the fruition come in, and the markets might change a little bit at this time as well, because they've been pretty up and down, as they always are around eclipse times. But so with lunar eclipses, right, we've got to look to the polar opposite, which is the sun. So the sun's in opposition to the moon at this time. So we've got to look at the decan where the sun falls into, and it's in the second decan of Pisces, which is connected to the Nine of Pisces, which is the Nine of Cups in the tarot. So this card is connected to the frequency of Jupiter. So the potential of this card's dependability. It's a very kind of cool card. I love the Nine of Cups when it comes up. But this card is connected to material happiness. So the sun at this time of the eclipse is trine Jupiter, right? This is a really cool thing, which will amplify themes of abundance, success, and well-being. So the collective will be happy during this time, amplifying personal happiness and achievements through goals and wish fulfillments, because most tarot readers know this is the wish fulfillment card. So I think it's really great that we're receiving this kind of energy coming up with this eclipse, because I think it's going to be really positive on that level, and I hope people really do level up in that way, because if you listen to the propaganda and the agents of evil talking about how doom and gloom we all are, you just got to shut that stuff out. There's a lot of good things going on. So, and one thing is, just understand your birth natal chart and where things sit. This is really important. But I'd say on the mundane level, particularly with this decan, the old text would say that this decan brings death of someone great. It's like death to a great king and an illustrious person. So we'll see what things play out in the media over the next 3 to 6 months on that level, because it's usually pretty accurate. But anyway, I'll dial into the Sabian symbol, because I think Sabian symbols are cryptic and really important. And for those who want to know, who have a basic understanding of their chart, that being ascendant, sun and moon, I really encourage people to check out their degree and the Sabian symbol and what it connects to, because it can offer a lot of valuable insight into it. The Sabian symbols are a little bit cryptic, but when you mull them over, they can give you a lot of understanding about yourself on a really deep inner level. And I think it's good. But this Sabian symbol associated with this eclipse is going to read in 13 degrees Virgo, and the key word is power. And the theme is kind of taking the reins, taking charge. So this is really an interesting symbol coming up as the Saturn and Neptune have ingressed into Aries, in my opinion, bringing about Neptune in Aries, bringing out the spiritual warrior, and with next to Saturn can be disciplining the warrior. Are my kind of keywords for this. So at this time, right, the spirit of independence on a collective level with Neptune going into Aries is going to be really stimulated. People are going to start thinking on their own terms. And I think that's a really good thing. And we may see a rise in that spirit of entrepreneurship, which I think is really needed, especially in our country, Australia. So this symbol speaks to the power. I'm just going to read this out. The power and leadership as demonstrated by those rare individuals who command the respect of their fellows by bringing about stability and order when chaos and confusion are winning the upper hand. And there seems to be a lot of that madness going on in the media, in the political world. The image of a strong head supplanting political hysteria symbolizes direct intervention at a point of crisis, or where things have reached a boiling point after a long period of ineffective leadership, eventually resulting in confusion, fear, and anarchy. Well, I think that's just basically summarized the last 5 years, I would say. Mind you, there's a lot of that's been going a long time, but I'm not going to get political here, but we'll just leave it at that for people to mull over. But the positive side of this symbol is, at its highest, this symbol represents exceptional administrative skill, keen judgment, and outstanding leadership. On the negative, indecision and weakness, a personal responsibility by refusing to make decisions or take a stand on anything. So this eclipse is stressing the accent on leadership and decisiveness. So you may have to take the bull by the horns to rescue a situation that is getting out of hand. The opportunity and your greatest advantage lies in doing something about it. It's time to get involved, see your objective, and act with confidence and be firm. And I think a lot of people really need to take the reins in their own life and embrace the spirit of independence coming in with that all as Aries energy. But I think this is a time to actually really be decisive and take charge and take lead. And excuse me, so I just want to end up saying that if anyone's had 12 degrees in their chart or something with 12 degrees on it, really pay close attention. And particularly if you've got a 12 degree ascendant, I've noticed over the years, I see so many patients, and I always pay attention to their charts. And I've seen a lot of people, when they receive an eclipse affecting the ascendant, a lot of them can get quite ill, or it's a very good time to rest, or extremely tired. I'm not saying that's going to play out for everyone. There's a lot of other things, like with astrology, right? You've got to see what's really going on in a birth natal chart. For these videos, we're talking generically, so just pay attention, especially with the ascendant, and rest if you need to. Look after yourselves and get the treatments you need to keep your chi, your prana, your vital force really vital at this time. But another really interesting thing I noticed that's come up in the media, which I used to be like mad into the ET thing and extraterrestrial stuff, and I think on my solar eclipse in Aquarius I talked about how I think this will really stimulate more and more of the kind of disclosure subject and all this kind of thing, they're slowly really chipping in the alien ET thing out into the mainstream, which is incredible. And I think I know one of the reasons why, but I won't say what that is. But over the years and digging, and I think there's something coming on this level quite quickly, and I'd say within the next definitely 3 years. But I did notice that Trump did mention he will release the files on aliens and UFOs. That was according to the New York Times I just saw. So, I think it's going to be very, very interesting how this plays out. And I say play out probably over the next 2 years, even more so. And I know other people have been keeping close tabs on this who I'm connected to, who've been giving me feedback, a lot more feedback. And you can see it in there's been stuff in the mainstream papers here in Australia about this alien UFO phenomenon the last few years, even more so. But I would just say, just as an end note about this eclipse, I think it's going to be a positive and fruitful time, especially for people who've been really trying to, amplify their material wealth and really wanting to level up on that level. I think it's going to be interesting for people, and there could be sudden windfalls. And I think the markets, I'm not a financial astrologer, but the markets might stabilize a bit, or there'll be a period of it where it would be extremely good. So it's extremely favorable. And I just wanted to end on that note. And thanks again for everyone coming to my live. I really appreciate it. And if you've got any astrological topics, or even topics to do you'd like to know about acupuncture, health, vitality, whatever that is, just comment below, and I will get motivated to look into that. And there were a few other projects people approached me about, which I did mention quite a while ago. It's just been hard to keep everything going at the same time, but I'm in the midst of completing a few other ones, and I'll get those videos up when I can. So thanks for your patience, and we'll speak soon.